So, Rosa, you spoke to a Coast Guard veteran who runs, as I understand it, a nonprofit that provides financial help to service members. What did she tell you?
Well, her message to lawmakers is not to forget the U.S. Coast Guard, because, Chris, this has happened in the past where lawmakers talk about somehow paying the troops through some form of measure during a shutdown, and they forget the U.S. Coast Guard because the U.S. Coast Guard is technically under DHS. But I want to go straight to showing you some of the video that was shot on October 2nd by the U.S. Coast Guard. This is an actual rescue. So this is the type of work that the U.S. Coast Guard is doing while Washington is still trying to figure out appropriations. They are saving lives. In this particular case, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, a man in his 50s was injured on a vessel in the high seas, and the U.S. Coast Guard deployed air assets from Corpus Christi and from Houston and saved this man. They transported him to a hospital in Galveston, and at last check, he was in stable condition. But Chris, as you mentioned, I spoke with Brooke Millard. She's a retired commander with the U.S. Coast Guard. She served for 21 years and she retired last year. And she became the CEO of Coast Guard Mutual Assistance. It's a nonprofit organization that gives grants and also interest-free loans to U.S. Coast Guard members so they can focus on the mission when they're having financial problems, like during a shutdown. And she remembered the 2019 shutdown. She said it lasted for 35 days. U.S. Coast Guard members were very stressed. They were worried. They were concerned about where their next meal was going to come from. Some of them, she said, contemplating having yard sales or trying to figure out ways to get groceries at a discount to make sure that they could make ends meet. And then she became emotional, talking about how Americans, everyday Americans, started making donations, some as low as $1 or $2 to help the U.S. Coast Guard members. Take a listen.
We have a note from somebody who literally sent us $1 in the mail and said, "This is all I can spare. You know, during the 2019 government shutdown, this is all I can spare is this $1, but I want you to know it comes from me, it comes from the heart." And like, that's what we see sometimes. And it's just, I don't know, we need the community, right? We need the community to get through this together.
And she also added that during the 2019 shutdown, Coast Guard Mutual Assistance provided over $8 million of assistance to more than 6,000 U.S. Coast Guard members. Now, the U.S. Coast Guard sent us a statement that I want to share with you. They said, quote, "The Coast Guard is continuing to execute its legally mandated operations, including safeguarding national security, protecting life, and preserving property. Uniformed personnel will continue to maintain essential services to control, secure, and defend the U.S. border and maritime approaches, facilitate commerce vital to economic prosperity, and respond to crises or contingencies. Other activities will be reduced or paused until funding is restored, which will limit our capacity to fully maintain mission readiness." And Chris, that is the key point there at the end. This could limit their capacity to fully maintain mission readiness. So this does not just hurt the workers, the individuals who work for the government during a government shutdown. It impacts mission readiness for the U.S. Coast Guard. Chris.
Rosa Flores, thank you.